Well, greetings, amazing students, and welcome back to another week here at CBU. For this week's reflection, I'd like to offer a brief reminder of how God responds to the needs that surface in our lives. Now, there are two particular and probably familiar stories to you that I'd like to share with you because I believe they're beautiful examples of what happens when we trust in God. The first comes to us from Luke chapter 5, verses 4 through 11, when Jesus instructs the apostles to cast their fishing nets out of their boat again. So when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and let the nets down for a catch." Now Simon responded to Jesus and says, "Master, we have worked hard all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I'll let down the nets." So when they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish and their nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boats to come help them. And when they came and filled both boats full of fish, that the boats began to sink. When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break, right? So when Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and says, "Go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man." For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of the fish they had taken. Okay. Now the second story comes to us, another familiar one, the feeding of the 5,000, that comes from Matthew chapter 14, verses 13 to 21. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food." But Jesus responded to them, They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." Now the disciples responded, "We have only here 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish." And Jesus said, "Bring them here to me." And he directed the people to sit out on the grass. And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate, and they were all satisfied. And the disciples picked up 12 baskets of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children. As we see in both these stories, Jesus knows exactly what we need and always provides more than we can ever hope or imagine. In both of these cases, the disciples doubted that their reality could change. They doubted that their world could ever look different from how it currently does. But Jesus asked them for faith. And once they opened themselves up to a new way of viewing the world, they discovered that Jesus has a vision that far surpasses their own expectations. And he is not a God of revenge or anger, but a God of love and abundance. So this week, consider sitting quietly for a moment and allowing yourself to trust in God's vision for you. Trust that he knows exactly what you need, and he will always deliver abundantly from a place of love. I'd like to thank you all so much for checking in this week. If you need anything, you know how to get a hold of me. Thank you all, and God bless.